Welcome back to the Pursuit of Accuracy. I'm Josh. Today we're going to be doing a tabletop review of this Vortex Razor Gen 3 4-24. We're going to be shooting it through the trigger cam while it's mounted on this Modicam RimX and inside this MDT ACC. If you've ever heard of the Gen 3 Razors, then you know pretty notoriously that they are one, expensive, two, very high quality scopes. This is expensive and it's super high quality and it has some really great features and does some things that a lot of the other Gen 3s simply don't, but it does have some downfalls, and we're gonna get in the good, bad, and the ugly on this. So let's get on the bench, let's get shooting, let's start talking about this scope. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and fire up this trigger cam so you guys can see we're at 4 power, we're looking at 50 yards, and we're gonna talk about this. So this scope, obviously I have it in mils. You're looking at the Vortex kind of standard mil reticle. If you're seeing anything crazy with the image through this, I tried to time this perfectly, but the trigger cam just doesn't do a great job. No scope cam does of representing the actual image. The actual image is going to be a lot better, but here we have 4 all the way up to 24 power. We do have a mil reticle. Obviously this is a mil scope. Like all the other Gen 3 Razors, you're getting the infinite kind of adjustment on the turrets here. I really like the turrets. I really do enjoy having them and using them because instead of being dialed or stuck into like clicks here, you can actually loosen this and move this adjustment knob up here and infinitely adjust your zero. So it doesn't have to be adjusted to or in between 1/10 or quarter MOA or whatever. You can get an exact zero, which is pretty cool. So we have a capped windage. We'll go and cap that guy back off. And as you can see, the scope overall is pretty compact. It is lightweight, specifically in comparison to other Gen 3 Razors. It's very compact. This has a sunshade on it. It does come with these super nice caps here. I love these caps. They lock out of the way. They're just a really nice addition. And of course, we do have a locking illumination. It slides out, but you can see there plenty daylight bright. That's on 10. But if you pay attention, you know, it doesn't exactly illuminate the entire reticle. That's something I wish it did do. I like to have the entire reticle illuminated because if you're making holds, I understand it can make it busy for some people, but I like the whole thing illuminated, but the illumination it does have is pretty dang good. So we're gonna go ahead and shut that off. It is stepped, so you have 1 off, 2 off, 3 off, 4 off, 5 off, 6 off, 7 off, 8 off, 9 off, 10. And then it starts back over. And it is locking, so you can simply turn it off and lock it and you're not gonna accidentally bump it. Let's check our zero since I just spun this around. Again, we're shooting standard plus, so let's not get too excited here. And we'll come in, and at 50 yards, it's gonna give you a good idea of what you can see at 24 power. Now, I'm gonna tell you that this scope does an amazing job with image clarity from 4 to about 20 power. From 20 to 24 power, it's still plenty usable, but the image is, to me, not nearly as good. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty zero because we're gonna go out there now to 100 and start looking around. And since I started off this complaining about some things, I'm gonna go ahead and complain about another thing, you know, get the dislikes out of the way. The parallax is not marked. Now, it's kind of a double-edged sword because not all marked parallax is accurate, and as you can see, this image is going to darken up. That is not the image through the scope. When I look through it, there is plenty visible, and we are kind of at, you know, the edge of darkness, but I'm going to use this to try and get my parallax set. What the image actually looks like to me is about like that. Like again, trigger cam just doesn't do a great job, but let's come in here at 100. Let's do a hold. So we're going to hold about, this is SK Standard Plus, to hold about 1.8 off right, but I could see that. Did not see that one. Let me see what you guys can see through the trigger cam. There we go. Through the trigger cam, I can actually, through this image, through this my cheater screen, I can actually see more, which is kind of funny. Let's see where we're at. Let's hold 2 mils right on this spot here. Okay, so it's quite a bit higher. It's about 1.2 mils from where we're at here on our zero adjustment, so no wonder. Barely nicked it. Enough of that. Let's go out here to 150 yards. Let me get this guy adjusted in. And let's see what we can see at 4 power. Now, one of the great things about this scope is the field of view. The fact that it's compact, it has illumination, it has the infinite kind of turret system, but it's small and it has a really good field of view, and it doesn't weigh like a ton. Like this thing, I'll put the specs up right now, in comparison is pretty lightweight. So if you're looking for a rifle that you're gonna pack around, you're trying to keep things on the lighter end of things, you're looking for a real serious hunting optic, or kind of where I fit this in was a great setup for like Mammoth, where you're having to ruck all your stuff, including your rifle, a great option. Again, there are some nitpicky things that I mentioned before. We're gonna mention one more. And that to me is that I wish the reticle was a little bit bigger or more bold. And the reason I say that is because if you're gonna use this in like Mammoth or a hunting rifle or something like that, you're typically not gonna be running a ton of magnification. And as you can see there, we have a really good field of view, which is great for spotting animals, targets, whatever you're trying to shoot, right? But if we need to then make a hold, which would definitely be the case in something like Mammoth, where you would have a weapon mounted laser rangefinder on here, I would get behind the gun with it zeroed, laze the target. It would spit me out a kind of data, a dope to hold, and then I would make that hold. But as you can imagine, and probably what I'm seeing right there is about that much. There's not a lot there, so it's pretty small, and you could turn on the illumination, and that's gonna help for sure, but it's also kind of distracting. And if you already don't have it on, then that's probably something that you're not gonna do on a stage. You know, I would love, and we're at about 10 power here, I would love for the reticle to be about this big at 10 power. I would love that, even though I get it, it's going to obstruct some of the target, you know, especially as you peel in on 24 power. But quite honestly, like I said before, visually to me, 4-20 on this is really, really good. Does it compare to the Zico 4-20? No. But the 4-20 on this for the money is really, really good. 21 through 24 power, I do see the image degrade a little bit. The eye box gets a little bit tight. It's not that big of a deal, especially since you kind of figure if you're going to be at max magnification, what are you doing? You're probably zeroing, getting dope. You're in situations where you don't need, you know, the peak performance. But having just that little bit bigger reticle would certainly help to make a more informed hold. And I think we're still zeroed. Let's send one out there. There we go. And I know the image isn't great out of this, but what you're seeing there, I'm seeing probably 3 times as good out of the actual optic. The image quality is really good for the money. Again, is it going to beat the Zico 420? No, but it's literally like half the cost. So I would say this, if you are someone who's looking for a rifle to pack around, if you are looking for something to do like sniper competitions with, this thing is going to offer a lot. You're getting kind of the locking, you got capped here, locking here, all the features I talked about, but understand the limitations there. For those guys who like to shoot at higher magnification, they will probably like this reticle being the size it is, because when you're up there at 20 power, it is super appropriately sized, and that floating center dot will come back to 50 actually really quickly. It'll be out of focus, but if you come back to 50 and we run max magnification, that center dot is really, really nice. But I don't think that a 4-24 is a scope that a lot of people are going to, you know, buy to shoot precision stuff at that magnification, because they're probably not concerned about weight and they're probably not really interested in all the features that this has to offer. So personally, a little bit bigger reticle to me on this would have been a great move. I kind of enjoy having marked parallax on this to give me a ballpark, especially, you know, this is a competition scope for most people. And even if it's not perfectly written out on here, it's nice to have a reference to go to in a panic. On this, you can certainly make your own references. I have a 100-yard reference that I made, so it's certainly doable. You can do it yourself. I just kind of like to have them already on there. I don't have to worry about it coming off, but all in all, a super premium optic. I think Razor, you know, as far as the Gen 3, this lives up to that name. They knocked it out of the park with this. Sure, there are a couple of things that I would nitpick, a couple of things that I would personally change, but not everything is perfect, and I can't make one scope that's going to do everything absolutely great. Having said that, I've used this in multiple competitions, and it has not held me back at all. It's super compact, super lightweight, super good glass, and finally in like that 4 to 24 range where you can get that really nice field of view. You're not even seeing all of it through the trigger cam here, but hopefully this helps. If you've been looking at this, you know, this isn't new, but yeah, there's my take on it, and hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Catch you on the next one.